This podcast has mature language, not intended for underage viewers.
Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 47. We've passed Thanksgiving. We're rounding out into Christmas. I do know that there were Christmas tree lights and Christmas tree celebrations even before Thanksgiving. So it's weird. It's sad. It's like Thanksgiving is just an afterthought. Everybody trying to get to the shopping, put the Christmas tree. Your boy put his Christmas tree up, you know, and the decorations in the house are looking very festive. So I might have to post one of those. Or maybe have to do a Christmas challenge where we posting, you know, see who got the best Christmas celebration in their house. So I hope everybody's doing well. Temperature's changing. Now I'm starting to miss those 140 degree temperatures in the summer. Look, I can deal with it getting cold. I don't do cold. You know, everything is stiff. I don't want to go nowhere. Like, I don't like walking around in the house unless the heater's up. So I might have to give me some kind of thermal blanket that I can wear, like an astronaut suit that's warm, so I can walk around because the house is cool and the facilities sometimes get cool. But enjoy this winter. Let's move through winter just as fast as we got here, so we can get to spring again and get some good things going. All right, so let me get into things on my mind. Let me start with this, and the interesting thing is as I thought it, as I said it, as I questioned it, you know, that within hours I was reading up on different stuff, and I'm not the only one. I think Golden State has an issue. Now, I'll go on record. I've been a Golden State fan. Yeah, I've liked them in the years, but I've been a Golden State fan for the past, 4 or 5 years. I'm not like, oh God, I'm a Golden State fan. I've been a fan of them. I like what they've done. When they started to hit the scene, everybody was trying to catch up to what they were doing. So their style of play, some people say it was revolutionary, going small ball and stuff like that, right? The NBA seemed to go for the next, 3 to 4 years where everybody was trying to match how Golden State played. Well, in the last year or two, teams have kind of gotten past it, and now they're playing a little bit more traditional, the way they used to. Was Golden State an anomaly? I don't know. I mean, you could say they were or what have you, but more teams are now going back to being big, with a traditional lineup, and everybody can shoot now, right? So my thought was, the year that they won, the last year that Golden State won, I figured, okay, you know what? With the young talent, they're going to be good. They got a big. They're going to look a lot like what they used to. Well, they got rid of the young prospect, James Wiseman. And, he's in basketball prison, as they say up in Detroit, because they say that's where you go to, or what is it, basketball purgatory. Purgatory is where they say he's at. So they get rid of him. All right, so you figure they're gonna make room for the younger kids, to start to play. And you saw flashes of Kuminga and Moody playing, and then all of a sudden it was, veteran heavy. There was no size. You had Looney, but Looney's great at what he does, but he's not like a big. He doesn't play bigger than what he is, right? So he did a phenomenal job at rebounding. He can play big guys, but he's not like traditional big in a sense. So they didn't make any adjustments. All right, last year, okay, they lose. They had some injuries. They were going through things with Poole. He's gone. They pick up Chris Paul. They didn't make any type of offseason big moves to get a legit big. They brought in the guy Saric, I think his name is, and he's a post player, kind of like maybe 6'9", 6'10". He can shoot threes, so yeah, I get that. But nobody that's going to be big enough to bang with some of the big guys in the league. And you figure, okay, this is going to be a breakout year. And the Kuminga and Kuminga and Moody are getting spot minutes. Some days you'll see a lot of them, and then other days you don't. You don't see them in the rotation heavily. Well, why am I bringing all this up? Because the other night I was watching them play Sacramento. Now I'm loving me some Sacramento this year, right? There's a few teams I'm loving. Now, as a general, I don't have a team, but I pick a few teams that I kind of gravitate towards. And in this game, Sacramento was up, right? And actually, Golden State was up. Sacramento was coming back, and this was for the in-season tournament and stuff. And Golden State had to win by a certain amount of points to be able to make the tournament, right? Well, in any case, it was a closer game. Moses Moody hits back-to-back threes, right? He hit back-to-back threes. Then on the next play coming down, they run a play for him, which shows a lot. Because if you got Steph and Clay in and you're running a set to get Moses Moody a shot, that means something. Now, I think he was 4 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from the three, and this was all in the second half. So he was really heating up. Well, Clay sets a screen. It was a legal screen, and it was a foul. So Moses didn't get the ball to get the shot from Dre. Then they bring in Wiggins and sit Moody down. And I'm looking at TV like, why would you take him out? He just hit 2 threes in a row. Everybody else is struggling, right? Let that man shoot. You're not going to look. Now, I'm not saying he's on Clay or Steph's level. But when somebody's hot, you let that person go until they cool down. Because it starts to stretch out stuff. So now these guys can get to the rack easy. The reason why I think a lot of their cuts and stuff aren't working as effective as they used to be is because they don't have enough shooters. You used to have more shooters, guys who could make other threes. Now you just have Steph. Clay's been bad. I love Clay. He has been bad. He knows it. He's frustrated. You can see it. But Moses Moody, if you're going to say, hey, this is going to be a rotational player, he's got to get quality minutes. He needs to be in there, and you need to start trusting him, or you should have moved him. Now, there's a growing concern about what are you going to do with Clay? And I kind of look at maybe bringing him off the bench a little. Letting him settle down, get his rhythm back, and bringing him back to a starting lineup. And I know you can look. Typically, if you take a starter off and put him on the bench, typically that starter can go through things. But man, this is sports. You should know, right? You should know that if you're hurting the team, you want to do what you can to help the team. Russell Westbrook decided to come off the bench to help the Clippers get more of a gel with Harden. Hell, Steph Curry last year came off the bench after coming back from an injury because Golden State was doing well. He wanted to ease into it. There's nothing wrong with coming off the bench. I don't know why people think, oh, well, I got to be a starter. No, you can come off the bench and play significant minutes and be in the game. And I'm not saying I'm not saying he doesn't want to do that, but that's an option. Because you're mismanaging Kuminga and Moody. And unless you're looking at trading somebody at this deadline, you're going to have a lot of unhappy people there. I have not been impressed with Steve Kerr's development and playing. He's more of a veteran. He's leaning too much on his veterans, and it's hurting his veterans because his young players they're not getting an opportunity, a real opportunity. They're playing, but they're not getting the consistent minutes. I heard somebody in the NBA on a podcast say, we're all creatures of habit, which is true. And he's like, what you want to know is, you want to know if you're a starter or if you're coming off the bench. And if you're coming off the bench, you want to know round about how many minutes a game you're going to get so you can play going forward. You want to be consistent. If you're a starter, you're consistently going to get, the bulk of the minutes, 30 to 36 minutes, somewhere like that. I don't know. I don't know what the average minutes per game, but you're going to get probably more than 30 minutes as a starter. Okay. Off the bench, it's going to probably come to anywhere between 15 to maybe 25 sometimes, depending on the bench players. You need to know consistently how many minutes a game you're going to get. You can't go from getting 20 minutes a game to 4 minutes a game, 12 minutes a game, 10, 6, 25, 30. You can't play like that because you're not sure when you're going to be pulled, how comfortable you can be. And yeah, this is the NBA. This is the same kind of stuff goes on in Little League, goes on in college and in pro. You got to have a system. And I've seen enough of the games this year, and then it's not because I'm still following them. I just still, I'm popping up, they're on TV, so I'm watching them, and every time I watch them, it's like, he didn't play. So I think they're really mismanaging, and now the questions are coming. People are questioning him, and they asked him why he put Wiggins back in. And he was like, well, Wiggins was a better defender, and I had to get him. We were relying on him and Clay and stuff. And I'm like, yo, man, you just throwing out some stuff, right? Like Wiggins was playing well, right? He was. Why not have Wiggins come in for Clay? Clay was playing well, but at that moment, it should be about the team. And if it's about the team, let Moody go. If Moody misses a few, he's bad defensively assignments, the game is going a certain way, then I get it. But, after you didn't just knock down 2 in a row, one was a catch and shoot off a pass. The next was you created your own shot and knocked it down. Come on now. So something's gonna give. I think if they don't ascend, I'm sure they'll probably either make the play-in or be in the playoffs. This could be the last year for a lot of them. This could be even the last year for Kerr, because I think at this point, you're too vet heavy and you don't have enough big dogs to get you throughout the year. You're playing them too hard. You're playing them. You're running your starters in the ground because if you develop younger talent, and that was what they used to be. They had younger talent. They had strength in numbers. They played. Once they got KD, it went into 7 or maybe 8 players. It was really top heavy. Those guys were logging in lots of minutes. Then the year they won, they went into the strength in numbers. They had here I go. They had a plethora of talent. They had so many young guys that were coming in that could play. And you thought, okay, they're about to make another run, get another big, and they'll be fine. But no, that didn't happen. So I really think they're mismanaging their talent. You got to figure out what you have and play them. It's the third year. And, it's enough for letting them learn. If they're good enough to play, then play. If not, get rid of them. But I don't see a path to them competing for a Western Conference title, at least. I don't. I can't see them beating Denver although they have Denver's number. All the other teams, Sacramento, they're as long as they don't play each other in the playoffs, they're going to be neck and neck. That series is going to probably go 7 just because they're so similar. But Sacramento has to learn and understand that they're a deeper team and they can play with them. And I think they figured that out when they beat them this past week. Now as I'm going into this, I want to mention it is crazy how we have excuse me, hold on, let me start over. It's so crazy that I can't even talk. It's crazy that we think that 35% from the 3-point line is good. It's crazy that we've come to the conclusion now with analytics and all of this high volume shooting that 35% from the 3 is good. This means in order for you to make 3 threes, you have to really shoot about 10, almost 10 to 10 point, between 9 and 11. I'll put it like that. Because when you say 35%, if it was 30%, you'd have to shoot 10 to make 3. But in any case, that's a lot of shots you have to make. You have to take just to get 3 of them. And it seems to be that it's the thing now. Hey, he's shooting 35% from the 3-point line. Man, he's doing good. When did we get there? Because I was always thinking that obviously, here's the rules. If you've never really thought about it, the further away from the basket you get, the lower your percentage is. So inside the paint, you should be like 80 to 90%. Outside the paint, somewhere between 70 and maybe 50. You go back towards closer to the 3-point line, it should drop like to maybe 40. Now, what is a good percentage from the 3? I would say 50. But the thing is that it's hard trying to find somebody that shoots 50. Then okay, let's say 40. I think 40 should be the new, hey, you're shooting 40%, you're a good shooter, from the 3-point line. Anything under 40 is average at best. But it's like I hear it all the time. As a team that's shooting 35% from the field, like, man, that's not a lot. Now, with analytics, they equate it to the more shots you're taking, you're shooting more than the other team, and you're going to hit some of those. You're going to score more points. Yeah, but when a team locks down and every shot matters, now though that 35% doesn't sound good. It sounds more like 15%. But it's just crazy how we've come to thinking that it should be, 35% should be normal. And so I just wanted to put that out there because I've seen it more in the last 3 weeks, and I've heard people talk about it when they put the stats on, and it's like, dog, did y'all forget what a good shooter is? Like, you should be shooting 40% from the 3. At least, I guess. I mean, hell, I would say 50. And the way everybody's taking shots these days, shooting 3s, at some point you should be good enough to make, 5 out of 10. You should. If you've been shooting 3s for a long time, and you can only make 2 or 3 out of 10, you might need to stop shooting 3s. Okay, so here's my next thing on my mind. It got me to thinking, should coaches be 365 like players if they leave a program and then turn up at another without being fired? Now, I was thinking about it kind of with college. Now I know it's not really 365 per se. It's the same concept in college. But but now with the portal, it doesn't happen as much because players can leave every year, right? Coaches leave every year. So then I started thinking about it more on the high school level. Now, I've seen where a couple of coaches, they resigned. They had been at that school for a while. Okay. They might have taken a year off, and then they moved to a different school, right? And they start coaching again. It's nothing wrong with it. I'm all for it, but the thought was, isn't it interesting how a player can't wait a year, obviously, because they only have 4 there. But players, if they leave, they have to go through all of this red tape to get to a different school or to be able to play varsity if they were playing varsity at the other level at the other school. But a coach could, in a sense, leave one job 1 year, go to another job the next year, and just continue coaching without any penalties. Whether they've been fired, whether they decide to move, whether they felt there was an upgrade, they needed to be close to home. Look, I get it. There are reasons. I'm not, trying to get in anybody's business about why they do it. I'm just curious as to, should it be a thing? Because it's a thing, parents and kids have to go through hoops. Now, I would say this: if a coach is fired, yeah, I mean, they didn't leave because they wanted to; they were kind of kicked out. I think that would be for me. I'm like, yeah, well, no, you're not questioning that. They didn't want him; somebody else wanted him, and they gave him an opportunity, right? But like, if you just say, I'm done, I don't want to coach you no more, and then everybody thinks you're done, and then in a year or two, you're coaching somewhere else, like. Okay, if it's more than 2 years, then I guess you're already 365 yourself, right? But if you're leaving after that year to another school, should you be 365? It's just kind of a fun, question. I mean, I don't really think it means much, but it just got, my brain just be working, man. It just be working sometimes, and I don't even know what I was doing and why. I think it was because one of the coaches. Oh yeah, and I need to say this: your boy gonna try to go be a college coach or football coach or college basketball coach. All I need is that 1 year, one contract where I can get, 16, 17 million, and then after the third year, my team is terrible. They fire me. They gotta pay me the rest of that contract. Yo, man, that is awesome. To go to a job and get like, you get fired and then they gotta pay you the rest of the money, right? Like the Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M, they fired him. Apparently, they still gotta pay him $75 million. The one of the coach, I think is coach at Indiana. Indiana State, he got fired. They got to pay him $20 million. Yo, man, just give me my $6 million. I don't care about the rest. Just give me the 6 and I'll be good. But that's where it came from, because I was thinking about it and they was like, well, he's probably gonna go right to this school, and I was like, man, it's just crazy how coaches can go and go to school. So I know my coaches who listen, they gonna be messaging me. Like, some might say, hey, you know what? Hey, yeah, that is kind of funny that you say that. I didn't ever think about that. And others are gonna be like, man, shut up, because I'm trying to leave this year at the end of the year for another job, so I don't want nobody trying to mess with it. Look, I don't know if anybody's doing it. I'm just hot siding, as we say. I'm just talking. Okay. All right, now, I do want to get into this last topic. It's kind of hard, but I gotta get into it. I want to talk about how when somebody gets fired, there's this really good praise of what they did. We want to thank them for their contributions. Okay, we want to thank them for what they did in the program. They did really well, but right now it's time to move on. Okay, now what are you talking about, Kay? I'm talking about 2 specific schools. These are the only schools that I thought about in this situation. There are more. Okay, so UTEP just fired their head football coach. All right, Coach Demmel. He was there for 6 years. His 6-year record at UTEP was 20-49. Okay. His first 2 years, it was 1-11 and 1-11. Okay. His third year, he was 3-5. So he was trending up. His fourth year, he won a bowl. Okay. Won a bowl game. Now, the third year that was 3-5, that was the COVID. That was when COVID was happening. So there was a lot of games that were canceled, excuse me, because of different precautions they were taking. So they go to a bowl, 7-6. The next year, he was 5-7. Not too bad. You can, odds are, maybe you had a game or two that you probably should have won, right? So not that bad. This year they were 3-9. Okay, so I'll use a second coach. Excuse me. I think it was Coach Gonzalez at UNM. I could be wrong. I thought I wrote his name down, but in any case, he was there for 4 years. His overall record at UNM was 11-32. Okay, his first year, 2-5. His second year, 3-9. His third year, 2-10. His fourth year was 4-8. So if you look at it, he was improving. He's trending up. Right now, I'm not saying that, hey, that's got to be enough, but he was having a better year. Coach Demmel, this last year was, other than the first 2 years, it was his worst years coaching, right? Now, why am I bringing this up? Number one, I get it. I know why they do it, because you're trying to be graceful as a university. And then as a coach, I like to think this, organization, we like thinking for what he's done. And I'm not saying they didn't do anything good, because you have to do good to be at a program for that long. At least you had some good moments, whether it's community, whether it's, being a good face of the organization. Maybe it's your graduation rates. It's how you treated your players and coaches and all of that stuff. Yeah, that's great. But we have to talk about the product on the field. And here's why I'm talking about it, because both of them, to a T, alluded to the fact, I think Coach Demmel said he was proud of the accomplishments. And they both thought that they would be back. They both thought they would be back. How do you think that you would be back after that type of year? Now, Demmel had one. He had one successful year out of 6. Yo, you're 20-49. You haven't even won half of the games that you've played. Neither one. So how can you be proud of that accomplishment? Other stuff aside, all I'm talking about is on the field. Wins and losses. That's what it's about. We can sit up here and say it's about, what type of person you are to leading your kids. Yeah, well, apparently not, because they didn't have any bad stuff going on. Players acting crazy, them or their family members acting crazy. No infidelity going on, as far as I know. It wasn't nothing crazy. It was good wholesome people, right? If they're good wholesome people, why the hell did you fire them? You fired them because they're losing. You fired them because when they're losing, y'all not making money because nobody's coming to your product. So let's stop making it about how, great people are and when they're doing stuff to the community. Because the minute they start losing, nobody cares about that. I'm just tripping on the fact that they said they were proud of their accomplishments. I guess maybe he's talking about his accomplishment getting them to a bowl game. Yo, you can put that on your map. You got them to the bowl game. But after that, you went back down. It was like you went up the hill, got to the top, and then you went right back down the hill. UNM coach didn't even get to the top. He's still climbing, and he got axed. So it's just odd how coaches. Well, I can't believe that they fired me. I'm shocked. Dog, do you realize what your record was? Were you paying attention? Stevie Wonder, he could see it. He could see it. So come on, man. What are we doing when we talk about stuff like that? We need to be honest with ourselves. Now, maybe he's just trying to put on a good face. But, I'd like to hear a coach say, you know what, man, I thought I had us on the right track. Things were trending down. I haven't done enough. I wouldn't blame him. I'd fire me too, because that's the next question. All right, let's flip the script. Let's say you the you the AD, and the coach has that another coach has that record, and you over in charge. Or you gonna be like, no, I expect them to be back. No, you firing them. So let's be clear with that. All right. So yeah, it's just crazy how organizations put out these statements. We want to thank him for everything, and he did a fabulous job. If he did a fabulous job, why the hell are you firing him? Why not say he was doing a good job, and then we don't know what the hell happened. He just started losing. We had to get him out of here because we don't want to lose, right? Nobody wants to lose, and we get it. It's about wins and losses. But let's stop sugarcoating some of this stuff, and let's stop acting like you don't understand how you're going to get fired when your record says that you're below 500. Come on. All right. Man, y'all would think that was a rant, but I got a rant today, and it's a coach's rant. Yeah, buddy. I had parent rants. I had a rant. Now it's a coach's rant. Okay. For all my players and parents out there that feel entitled and try to control things, even if your kids are not that good, that it's always someone else's fault. And y'all need to look in you need to look in the mirror. It's too many players that aren't playing because other players are better than them, but they don't want to admit it. Furthermore, you got parents who are constantly sticking their noses in places where they don't belong, ain't never played, ain't never coached, but know everything that's going on and has, I can do this and coach should do that and everything. And sit y'all asses down, parents, and just watch. If you don't like what you see, then just go home. But all of this, trying to get rid of coaches. Now, I will say that there's some coaches out there that are just some bad coaches. It is, right? Just like there's some bad players. Just like there's some bad parents, okay? So, yeah, we get it, but for the most part, maybe your child isn't that good if you keep moving them from team to team. You keep moving your kid from team to team. You know what the common denominator in all of that is? It's your child. Your child has played at 3 city league teams, 4 AAU teams, and 2 high schools. It's your child. Maybe your child isn't that good. Maybe your child needs to work on something. I don't know what it is. Maybe they got an attitude. Maybe they can't dribble. Maybe they don't know how to play defense. Maybe they're scared. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, the coach probably knows, and the player knows. The player really does. One thing that my kids will always tell me when I ask them why they're not doing something, a lot of the kids was like, I don't know. I don't know the reason. And I look at them dead in the face and say, you're lying. Because we all know why and why not. We know why we don't do something. We know why we do something. Subconsciously, whether you want to say it or not. Most of the time, I tell them you're scared. It's fear. You're fearful of this or that, and then they'll turn around and say, "Oh yeah," and I say, "So I guess you did know." It's because you don't want to admit that you're scared. You don't want to admit that you're not good enough. Those two things can be okay. The question is, what do you do going forward? How do you get better? If there's somebody who's busting your son or daughter's ass on the court, stop trying to make it about somebody else. And tell your child, you need to get your ass out there and get better. Maybe find it. No, I'm not even going to put the trainer part in there because I don't want to make it sound like I'm trying to, solicit people to come. Get your ass out there and get better. Michael Jordan's mom told him that you better get out there and get better. So if it was good enough for his mom to go out there and tell him, you don't think it's good enough for y'all? Tell your kid to work on their game. Tell your kid to work on their IQ. There are too many kids out here that love to shoot, love to dribble, but they don't know how to play basketball. And it's evident with a lot of stuff that I've seen, simple stuff on varsity level. Simple. So, stop complaining. Stop complaining to the refs. Do you even know what the calls are sometimes? Because here's the funniest thing. you'll complain and boo and say that's a terrible call, right? But then if it's the opposite and it's your team, you're complaining that you didn't get the call. So which is it? Is it a bad call or is it a good call? No, it's because it doesn't give your team or your child or whomever an advantage. If it's a big issue with refs, I might have to have a referee rant too. But let's get back to what I'm saying. Yo, if your son or daughter is, I'm not gonna go that far with what I'm saying. If your son or daughter is not good enough to perform, you need to try to figure out why. Maybe ask that coach, what is it that they're not doing so I can try to help them get there because I think they're good enough. A lot of times you look at film. You can look at film and see. I've had a parent who was like, complaining about their kid. Complaining about it, or they're not letting them play and they're not doing it. And I went to a game and then I went in and the next time the kid was in there, I asked him, I said, so are you better? Can you play better than number 12 and number 30? And the kid had to think about it. And then I told him, I said, see, the fact that you're having to think about it means that you're not sure. You should be like, oh no, I bust his ass every day in practice. Oh no, he can't hold me. Oh yeah, damn well I'm better than him. That's that confidence. But now obviously you got to go out and prove it. And I've seen the other side where a kid wasn't playing and the kids in front of him were not that good. And it was like a lot of other stuff, politics and boosters. So we got to get out of this mindset of thinking that we're old stuff. I don't let kids come into our organization feeling like they old stuff. They gonna work. If they come in and they had this mindset, like you can't even have a mindset to come into training because the first thing I'm gonna ask you is if you're really that good. Okay, you're in the top 100 in the country. Where you at? What, number 50 something? Oh no. Okay, you in the top 100 in the region. Top 100 in the state, right? You got to be top 100 state. Oh, okay. Top 100 in the city. No, you ain't in nobody's rankings. Okay, so obviously you're not as good as what you think you are. I've actually had I've had a couple of kids tell me that, these are good kids that can play. Like, yeah, no, they know that I come here. They don't want to come here because they know that you expose weaknesses. They don't want to be worked. They don't want to work. They think they're good enough. And I thought it was fascinating that somebody would be worried about me figuring out their weaknesses. That's what you want. You want to know what your weaknesses are. I'm going to help you get them right. So now they're not weaknesses anymore. But in any case, this is for all the coaches. This is for the fellas out there and the ladies, coaches. Let's go. I'm saying what y'all probably want to say, but y'all can't say because y'all got to be politically correct. I fortunately don't have to worry about that shit. I'm not running. I don't have to answer to a board of people who don't know what the hell they doing, and stuff. Your child's gonna know when they come into our program. Hey, you got to work. If you don't work, you're not getting better. If you don't get better, you're not gonna play. End of story. So for all of y'all parents out there and kids who are entitled, y'all need to work harder because there are things coming for you. You can't go to college with that. You can't. It's not gonna happen. I take that back. Maybe on some of the really lower levels, but established really good programs, they're not having that shit. So get out there and work hard on everything that you need. That's the end of my coach's rant. All right, so let me get to my basketball ideology. My first thing I want to talk about is, do you think freshman making varsity is more about the poor talent in that school, or are they just really that exceptional? Now, I think in most cases, it's because the talent is poor, but I know in some cases they're exceptional. Now, am I saying that those freshmen shouldn't be on varsity? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you have schools where you have 12 kids, boys or girls, and 8 of them barely know how to play, right? They know enough. They know what they're doing, but they don't really know how to play. There's a difference. You have 3 or 4 that could play. Of course, those are going to be your best players. Now, I'm not against. I don't want anybody to think that I'm against freshmen playing varsity. I'm all for it. But I do see a lot, a post. Hey, my child is gonna be the starting person on varsity and stuff. And then you're happy for him. I'm excited. Look, I don't want to make it sound like I don't think it's an accomplishment. It's an accomplishment. Yeah, that's first off. But let's kind of start to understand situation. If you're at a school that doesn't win a lot of games and you come in as a freshman and you're already ahead of what the juniors and seniors are doing, you're going to play. But what does that speak to? I think it speaks more to the program. It's not a problem with the player. Player is not the freshman's fault that they've learned and they've gotten better. But you need to be challenged. You need to be challenged because some freshmen will get to varsity and see, like it's not as good as what you thought. You are getting playing time, but you're getting your head handed to you a lot when you're playing against other good players. And then it's like, well, maybe they should have played JV or maybe they should have played freshman. No, they need to be challenged. Now, I'm for this. I always tell parents, this is my perfect scenario. That they go in as a freshman and they play freshman. And in the course of a few games, they're just so dominant. They have to be moved up to JV because parents are complaining for the team. Like, that kid's too good. That kid shouldn't be on freshman, right? Then you get to JV and you have the same thing happen. So then you got to get moved to varsity, and you have to get moved to varsity because you are you're exceptional and you get to play. There are some programs that don't allow freshmen to play varsity. Now, I'm for it and against it. I'm against it if that freshman is better than a lot of your varsity players, and that freshman can come in and help. I'm against it if the varsity is stacked and you're really not going to get much playing time. Play JV or freshman. It's not going to kill you for a year. I mean, it's not like you're going to be one and done anyway. You can't play 1 year as a freshman and then, hey, I've decided to forego my other 3 years of high school and I'm going straight to the NBA, or I'm going straight to college, or I'm going to play. Well, I guess you could go overseas. But yeah, you can't do it. You got to play 4 years. You got to be there 4 years. So 1 year is not going to kill you on freshman or JV. Learn. Play the long game is what I call it. Because if you really learn the system and you get a better flow and you understand the speed as a freshman, then your sophomore year, now you probably can push for varsity and play 3 years and be productive. I hate being moved up to sit. That's me. I know some coaches are like, no, they're gonna learn a lot. I don't look at it that way, and that's fine. I can disagree, but that's just a question. I mean, is it more about the poor talent on varsity across the board, or are some of these kids exceptional? And I will say this: every freshman, so just so nobody gets it twisted, any freshman that is good enough to make varsity is exceptional. Right? So let's make sure we understand that. Okay, all right. One quick thing. I consume a lot. I see a lot. And it's weird at how sometimes, have y'all ever noticed when y'all are looking at your phone, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or something, you click on something and then all of a sudden you start getting ads and solicitations or reels or whatever it is of that thing. Like, I clicked on a reel once and it was an accident, and it was because I get intrigued with how they set up the reel, and it makes you want to say, well, what's going on? So I clicked it, and it was a female, and it was like something. It looked like something with an animal, but she was gonna do a dance, right? So I was like, oh, okay, that's not what I thought. Then all of a sudden, I go through my Facebook, and there it's like I get all these reels of all of these different women, and I'm like, why am I getting this? But then I understand why. Okay, so I get reels, and it's, stuff with basketball, and I'm always trying to learn and see, like understand what other people are thinking. There was a reel of a guy doing a workout, and it was about 2 to 3 minutes, and I watched it all because at that time I don't know what I was doing, but I was kind of downtime. I was watching this reel, and throughout this reel, there was no correction into what the trainer was doing, the move that the trainer was working on with him. There was absolutely no correction. And I'm looking at it like I'm thinking, because normally I don't never want to judge when I'm watching a clip. And it's because I understand that, look, sometimes you might see it and you're gonna, why didn't you do this? That's a that. And it's like, no, but you gotta see what it is. Sometimes if a kid makes a move and it's a travel, but I'm trying to get them to understand one, I might let that go once or twice, maybe 3 times doing it. But then I correct them on that part, because I know that part is probably easier to correct than the other part that the kid was struggling on, right? So I'll do that. But you're never going to see a 3-minute video of me doing a training where I'm not correcting everything at some point. Everything at some point throughout the beginning of that move to the finish is going to get corrected if something is messed up. So as I'm watching it, I figure, oh, well, this isn't training. This is just a workout. Because you're not correcting stuff. You're allowing bad habits, and I was kind of disappointed because it was like, the person, has all these views and stuff. And I was like, wow, you put stuff out there and people gravitate to it. But yeah, I've seen quite a few of those. I don't do it as much simply because it's hard for me to film. I get really into my training when I'm trying to make sure they understand and stuff. So it's hard for me to have the camera watching. Sometimes I'll film them and put it out, but I don't do it as much. But yeah, it's really odd because I know, like, okay, well, I don't try to put a 30-second clip up because then you're going to say, oh, well, look at this. It's not doing it. Yeah, but it's a 30-second that you're seeing out of an hour. Look at the end result and you'll see that all of those things that you're talking about was corrected. But 3 minutes, the same drill, and you don't correct one, yeah, that's a problem. Okay, this last thing I want to talk about is something that I learned that I was just actually, I mean, it's happened quite a few, excuse me, but I've never really thought about it. Correcting a player can be very delicate. If you're a trainer. So you have to make sure that you correct them when you're training. I'm sorry. I heard you just heard the ding. I got my phone on Do Not Disturb. The only people that can message me when my phone is on Do Not Disturb are people in my favorites. Obviously my family, like my wife and my kids. And my daughter just texted me and asked me something. So I'm not going to respond. I'm going to have to respond and tell her that I'm doing my podcast. And then she's going to probably respond and say, oh, sorry, which is going to make another noise. But nah, it won't because I put it on silent. So for those of you wondering where the that's my text message sign. So back to what I was saying. Correcting a player can be delicate. You have to be careful, but at the same time, you have to be real. Here's the scenario I give you. I had one of my players. This player is a freshman. This player should be on varsity, but this player is playing JV. And I'm totally okay with it because this player is good, but this player needed to understand that, you got to go hard all the time. Now they're understanding it. It's a very good chance that they could get moved up to varsity, and be productive. I'm happy with the player playing JV the whole year. Coach knows it. I've talked with the coach, everything, parents and stuff. Player. Well, in any case, I was working with the player on a high-level move. And the player had problems with their feet doing the move. And after a while, after like I usually give a player 3 reps to see if they can kind of get better at it and go from there, right? You don't, I never figure that any player is going to be able to get the move right like that. Even my advanced players, sometimes they'll need 1 or 2 reps and then they got it, right? And that's usually what advanced do. You show it to them, it only takes them a few reps and then they got it. Now they're going the speed you need. Well, this player couldn't get it. They tried and tried, and the footwork was slow on the advanced move. So I had to tell them, okay, all right, you know what? This one's a little bit too advanced. So I did something that was almost similar, but less advanced and kind of just as effective, and they were getting it. And then I had to tell them, I was like, yeah, we got to get your footwork, get your footwork a little bit faster, your speed, you're slow-footed. And they just kind of looked at me, and I said, look, it's doesn't mean you're not going to get there. It's just right now, this is a little bit too much advanced. And instead of them pouting, this kid pouting and being upset, they agreed, they understood because they could see it. They could see it. They understood it. So afterwards, I was like, yeah, you know what? I really patted myself on the back because I didn't say, oh, you can't do this shit. This shit too good for you. I don't talk to the kids like that anyway. But I thought to myself, yeah, you have to make sure you're delicate with how. Now, delicate meaning you give them a real message. The message is real. It's just how you deliver the message. Because if you're harsh with how you deliver the message, it could mess up, your relationship with that player because it really sounds detrimental. I'm not saying coddle a player. I'm just saying you could tell a player they're playing like shit and not necessarily use those words, but convey the message to where they know, yeah, coach, I'm playing like shit. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to sugarcoat it. You can just be real in a different way that it relates to them and they understand. And this player understood. And I don't think I've ever had issues with players when I've talked to them. I just, this is one of those rare times where it dawned on me like, yeah, I think I did a pretty good job of letting them know, and, I felt like, I think I've had a few players that I could just be real with and say, man, you playing like trash right now. What's wrong with you? The hell is going on with you? And they'll look at me and it won't be a thing because they know that I know that they could play and I want the best for them. But, I don't think I've ever told a player that. I would stand on and say I've never told a player that they're trash or they're playing like trash. Now, I've questioned players' effort when they come in energy level. Because I tell them sometimes, you brought my energy level down as a trainer. Now, I'm just kind of going through the motions and not, giving good effort because your energy is low. You got to come in with good energy. But most of the time, I'm just telling them that because I know I'm going to pick up my energy level. But it's kind of conveying a message like I'm feeling that vibe that they're giving. But, yeah, as a trainer, yes, I do have to be careful with how I convey a message because a lot of times these are kids that are coming in who are learning the game. They're advanced, but they're still learning the game. And you can talk to a professional probably a little bit different than you can talk to an 11-year-old. But you do have to be careful with that professional as well because whether you believe it or not, pros' mindsets are very fragile. You think they're not? They're very fragile. We're all very fragile. We don't like to be told that we're not doing well. We love praise. Now, criticism, constructive criticism, yeah, we'll take it, but we won't like it. It's going to bother us. Like, I'm not bothered by the thousands of kids that are playing that have come through our system that have played high school or the ones that have made it to college. The ones that bother me are the ones that I felt should have made the team and didn't. That's crazy. And that's only a few. That's not a lot of kids. Like, I think we have like a 80 to 90% success rate with what we do. I'd have to figure out how to track the numbers, but I think we do. But it's the 10 to 30 to 17% that bothers me. Why? Because I don't like to lose. I don't like to feel like I didn't do a good job. So as athletes, yeah, that's how it is. But I'm gonna go ahead and end it on this note. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope my fellas and my ladies, my coaches. I hope y'all out there, y'all like that coaches rant. I'm probably gonna have some people say, "Hey, were you talking about me?" No. Most of this stuff, some of this stuff, I'm not talking about anybody in particular. It's a situation. There are sometimes though where I'm talking about a person, but in this case, I wasn't. Other than the UNM stuff, it wasn't nobody I was talking about. So I hope you enjoyed this. Y'all stay safe. Be kind. Look, I almost hit somebody. I got to end it on this. I almost hit somebody twice. The first time it was migrants coming across where I drive to work, and they're always running across that street. And the one thing that I know that it was migrants is because when they run across the street, they have tunnel vision. Now, you can say, "Oh, well, you're discriminating," or no. I've actually talked to law enforcement and Border Patrol, and that's the same thing they say. Okay, let me ask you this: if you're driving a car and you're about to cross the street and you see a car coming, do you just go? No, you wait until that vehicle passes because you don't want to get hit. The 5 encounters that I've had with migrants have went exactly the same, where they were just running and they didn't care how many cars were coming and where you were, right? And of course, I don't want to hit anybody, right? I don't want to hit anybody. So of course, I know it enough to stop, slow down and stop. Cars next to me almost hit each other, trying to avoid. They passed through. This morning, I almost hit a person jogging. Now, it wasn't because he was on the side of the street and he kind of veered out, or I was driving closer to the curve. He was jogging across a busy street, and we had the light. Now, it wasn't as if he had got to the middle and he was already to the end and the light turned green. That light had been green for almost 30 seconds. And there were other cars stopping. So he kind of stops, and then I'm seeing him and I stop, and then he slows down and he's kind of like waiting, and then I start to proceed, and I'm having to look behind me to really see if somebody going to try to hit me. And I'm thinking, I'd rather somebody run into the back of my vehicle than to hit this man. Even as crazy as it is, that's what I'm thinking. I'll sacrifice my vehicle. Now, he's going to probably have to pay for it because he was in the wrong and he caused it. And there'll be some attorney say, no, he's not in the wrong. The pedestrian is always right. No, that was the red arrow, the orange hand sign that says you can't cross. And then he proceeds to start running after he stopped to let me pass. And then once I start going, then he starts running again. So I had to stop. And I punched my horn. And it was only the one time that I remember what my old man used to say. All right, y'all run y'all ass across that street if you want to. I got bumpers. That was the one time. This was the first time that I've thought about this between the day. And it's crazy. This happened today. And the other one happened Sunday or Monday. No, Monday. It happened. And it's the first 2 times that I thought, well, I got bumpers. So if I hit you, I'm going to get a ticket. I'm going to have to go in front of court and judge and say, hey, man, it wasn't my fault. They just ran across the street. What am I supposed to do? you know? So I know it's terrible to say, but it was so funny. It made me think of my old man when he said that somebody was trying to run across the street, and I was in the car with him. I was young, and he's driving, and he bunked his horn and cussed him out, and they kind of looked at him, and then he closes, and he's like, "Yeah, I got bumpers. Yeah, you don't have no bumpers on your ass. I got bumpers on this car." Oh my God. Oh man. So I just had to leave that, be safe, be vigilant as you're driving. The best advice I can give you as a driver is it kind of changed my view of driving. Drive like nobody knows how to drive, and nobody knows how to act. You follow that, things, you're not surprised and you're always prepared. But with all of that being said, I'm going to end it like I always do. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.